But yeah, domain authority even helps with your map ranking. So it's not to be underestimated, and it's not to be entrusted with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
So.
because there are people that will say they offer domain authority services, but they're really just going to ruin your website. So.
Yeah, right. Hey there, guys. It's Nolan Walker. I'm here with John. He's one of the smartest guys in the room at the company, and so I wanted to bring him in because one of his expertise is domain authority. So today we're going to talk about domain authority and the importance of it. And I guess this goes from anywhere from a local business, which is a lot of what we do, but we also work with some national sites, and it's a big difference on how well you're going to show up. I talk a lot about everything that you need to show up online, and this is one of those sticky, weird things that if it isn't there, you're just not going to show up. So
Right.
you want to talk about I guess if everything else being the same.
Yeah, I mean, if two sites are basically equally well optimized in terms of their design, their SEO, their schema, and whatnot, the separator between which one will rank highest is generally a metric known as domain authority, it's a metric created by Moz, which is one of the most popular SEO services. But it generally measures your backlink profile and the authority of it. And so to this day, that's still the best way Google has to determine the authority of a site.
So just to expound upon that a little bit, it's way more damning than just that explanation of it. Because if you go back and look at you're talking about time and history and tenure and trust through the search engine, right? I think is a large measurement
Right.
for that. So they're using it as a tool to trust you. And we talk a lot about the different aspects of organic optimization, and a lot of stuff he just mentioned, like custom design, proper code base, great schema code, tons of content, regularly worked on, great setup Google account, domain authority, and all is activates all that stuff. You could have all of the other stuff done, and let's say you're a new player in your market, or let's say that you even had a 5-year-old website, but it was so stagnant, you just neglected it so fully that you never worked on it, never changed it, never did citations or anything. You could be sitting there with a domain authority of an 8 or a 3, even after a few years, right?
Yeah, if you don't you don't build any kind of relationships in terms of outreach and getting your brand out there, nobody's going to link back to your website, and therefore Google's not going to take you seriously at all.
So it's not entirely links, but there's a lot of its links, like guest posts and
guest posting, stuff like that. But part of why Google says content is king is because the idea is that websites are more likely to link to great content. So
let's talk about the danger of someone talking about, let's say somebody calls up and says, hey, we can get you up in rankings, pick 5 keyword terms. Aren't those people typically trying to do things that search engine doesn't want them doing, basically, right? When they're
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely a fine line. You don't want you want a lot of links pointing to your website, but you don't want bad, low quality links. You want high quality links from trusted sources, because that's like a vote of confidence from one site to your site.
I talk about this stuff all the time, guys, and it's not loaded. I mean, it is, if you knew what I knew, you've got to have quality services to have all this work properly. And you have somebody like us working for you and someone else doesn't, we're going to beat them online because Google grades the details. When we talk about domain authority, since it does relate to some linking, you've got to be really careful, because nothing's supposed to be done to your website that's not on the up and up and perfectly done. So if someone's doing things that are against the search engine's wishes, and it creates a violation, then it could hurt your ability to show up in the first place. All the things that we do that are high quality, though, they won't take effect properly if your domain authority is in the toilet. And let's talk about the numbers of it. So when like years ago, it was 0 to 10, right? And
Right.
nowadays it's, and I remember that when I first got involved, but nowadays it's 0 to 100. And so a local company, for example, so let's talk about what those numbers are. A local company that's successful, if it's in a medium,
Market.
competitive category, and they're gonna be doing okay if they're in the 20s. If it's in a small town and it's in a medium competitive market, they might be okay in the teens.
Right. Yeah, it's relative.
It is relative to what your competition base is. When we see in a medium-sized market with a medium-sized or high competition level, we see those needing to be around 25 or so, or to be able to be successful. And it's really difficult for anybody to get over like a 30, right?
Right.
On a local level.
On a local level.
Yeah.
Major brands can do it, but
Major
local,
brands can go 50, 60, 70, 80.
correct.
And then I guess Google would be like 100,
Google
right?
is about 100,
Yeah.
yeah. Wikipedia, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's all kinds of other people that you've, like national name brand companies that you've heard of. They're going to be 60s, 70s, 80s, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're a local company and you ever get to 30, you're pretty much the top dog,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tough to knock you off your perch. And so what has to happen is that all this stuff has to come in together, and then you get the high quality design work with the proper code base, which we do obviously. You do deep dive, properly structured content that's SEO copyrightable, written well, and that helps out. And by the way, so let's just talk about the design and the content. Well, why does it help? Because if there's enough content, they literally will read more. I hear people say, well, they don't stay on the sites, people don't want to read content, but they do. If you actually look at analytics, instead of somebody staying for 48 seconds on average, and then you have better content, they might stay like 128 seconds. And then your bounce rate goes down, and Google looks at it and says, hey, people like this better than the 48-second guy. And then that actually is a factor in raising organic rankings. So all of that gets done. Google My Business, we do, you'd have Google Map postings and citations, and all these items get done and then get done regularly, changing content, updating code as needed, integration and reviews each month, maybe some social postings, and all that goes into the grade. But you can have it all perfect, and you don't have domain authority, and it's just going to fall flat potentially, right?
Correct.
So
you have to have the foundation, which is stuff that our agency handles. We handle the foundation, but even if you have a solid foundation, the thing that will put you over the top is domain authority, or hold you back if you don't have it.
yeah, or just get you in. I mean, you can literally be bottom top 10 for all these keyword terms that you want, or second page, and it just never bumps into place because of this. So it is something we handle for you. It's a serious item. It's serious enough to have a discussion about it and let you know about it. I always try to make sure that the clients are well informed and understand what's going on. I had a call up here for services for a potential new client, and guys, they had all this stuff. They had all the design. It's very rare that most of the time designs are, 99% of the time designs are templates. The code base is bad, the content's shoddy, and it's never worked on. This wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad effort. His domain authority was low, and they were wanting to know why they weren't up in ranking. This is not to be confused with other stuff, but it still is relevant to other things. I will deeper dive a little bit, because the domain authority not only affects the organic rankings, but like the map placement, right?
Correct.
And so I had a call from a different guy, and he was saying, I've got guys in my market that don't even have a web page, and this town had 15,000 people in it, but this was a high, it was in a densely populated area with about 15,000 in his town, and somebody without a website was in map ranking.
Yeah.
And I explain this a lot of different ways in a lot of different videos, but they're grading you on all these different little things. So this guy could have even had links to the Google map, that he had.
Yeah.
He probably had more tenure more activity, more reviews, and all this stuff. And for whatever reason, with that grouping of things of the algorithm that was getting graded, Google said this guy's a better choice than the other guy.
Yeah.
And the other guy might have had a newer website. He was up for 4 years, but these other guys might have been around for 10. I didn't go check it. In fact, I don't know if you can check what date the Google account was initiated.
Yeah, the maps list.
Yeah, so let's just say that this guy was up there for 10 years and the guy I'm talking to was up there for 4. But once the guy that I'm talking to, which became a client, gets a custom design with great code and proper content and worked on regularly, and then of course we're going to work on his domain authority and do regular work to it, he will get into that map ranking. Map ranking is affected by this stuff. It was I don't know, there's an old stigma about the web that the web is free, you know?
Right.
And so that was how it was all launched. And then there's another stigma that's like, well, mapping doesn't have anything to do with anything, you know?
Right, when it's
the
really
map
all
just
connected.
shows up.
Yeah.
Well, the web company can't help with it, right? Which is, we know
False.
that's
True.
not true and ludicrous, but yeah, domain authority even helps with your map ranking. So it's not to be underestimated, and it's not to be entrusted with somebody that doesn't know what they're doing.
Because there are people that will say they offer domain authority services, but they're really just going to ruin your website. So.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll wrap up. So, John, should you get domain authority only?
Absolutely not.
Why is it such a bad idea, though? Like
because it's like it's the icing without the cake theory. It's like if you don't have the foundation with it, then it's completely worthless.
Yeah, and so they grade it all right together.
Yeah.
But what is the potential, not value, but what's the credibility of a company that comes to one of our potential clients and says, I don't need to redesign, I don't need to do content, we're just going to do all this stuff,
right?
And then we're going to hammer it with domain authority. So what's the potential credibility?
Yeah.
I'm leading this question here, but we know that these people are horrible.
Yeah,
right?
There's no credibility.
That is the cheater. That is the one that Google's looking out for. They don't want some idiot that's trying to sell you a low-end package deal that you get involved in to come throw links at your website. That's like super bad, right?
Yeah, that will not help. In fact, it will hurt you, and it could get you penalized. So.
Yeah, hurt you and get you penalized. There's ways to do it that are legitimate, that work well, and then with everything else good that goes on, then it gets that grade and then it shows up. But I think that's good. That is about 13-ish minutes. I think that's a good explanation. Guys, take a look around. If you like the video, like it wherever if you're looking on it on YouTube, if you're doing this on a podcast, like it. And I'd appreciate it. And we sure would love to hear from you. We'd love to have you as a client. If you have any questions, just pick up the phone and give us a call. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in on it.